Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Digimon Adventure 2020, episode 39. So the last episode I was not a fan of, and it really kind of soured me a little bit on things. Admittedly, a lot of times in afterthoughts of a reaction, when I seem like I'm really sour on an episode, it's most of the time it's a lot of first impressions thoughts and everything. You know what I mean? It's like I just finished watching the episode, so yeah, my mood's really sour on it, if that's the case with that episode or whatnot. It's gonna feel worse than it actually is, and it's like I'll calm down a lot on it after time. But I still don't like that episode. I think it was way too heavy-handed with its imagery, but the imagery also didn't quite make sense within the context of the episode and the opponents who were fighting, which heroes were fighting and all. Well, it made sense with the opponents here. If it didn't make sense with which heroes were fighting the opponents, that's what I should have said. It just felt like it wasn't well thought out. Plus, it was just kind of boring. Some things were just we were just kind of thrust into the issue too. Like it's like the confrontation had technically already started when the episode began, and it's like we never actually saw the beginning of that confrontation. So it's just like it felt off. And the episode just didn't make up for it in any way. It just felt like really uninteresting and boring and not really all that special. It was just a letdown of an episode, which really sucks because there was definitely potential to do stuff with Digimon like Mephismon, and even with religious imagery like that. But you have to get it right. Like they did well with obviously Devimon. Like yeah, Devimon, devil, religious imagery is obvious there. Angemon, angel, and everything. Having Angemon or some form, like again, I could say if Takeru were taking on Mephismon, and you had Angemon, or even went up to like Magna Angemon or something, Pegasmon probably wouldn't make as much sense, but just having the Holy Digimon do this. Hell, you could even have Gatomon be brought in and bring in Angelwomon. That would have even worked. But having it be Yamato and Gabumon, who eventually just turns into, by the end, Weregarurumon, it's like, but what's the point? Why are they taking on this enemy when there's clearly two other chosen ones with their Digimon partners who would be so drastically better for this? It feels just like a really bad decision, and it's only one of the issues I had with the episode, but it really threw me off because it just felt like it made it seem random. It made it seem like a random encounter, just another one of those random Digimon enemies that the team had to fight. But at the same time, because of how heavy they went into the imagery and the theming, it didn't seem random. And that's the problem. It seemed like it was more intentional than it should have been. And because the fact that it was Yamato and Gabumon instead of Takeru and Patamon, or Hikari and Gatomon, and I'm still going to call her Gatomon instead of Tailmon, by the way. Because it was Yamato and Gabumon, it just did not work, in my opinion. But hopefully this next episode is much better. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what we're getting in store with. I don't know really anything more to come with this series because I haven't really heard any spoilers for this one. Um, but there is some big news that has been revealed uh, with the beginning of this month and all. So there is a new series coming. We were talking about like there being rumors of a second series coming, a sequel series. And apparently, it's not going to be a sequel series to this. It's just going to be a new separate Digimon series altogether. And it's being called Ghost Game. And apparently, it's presumed that it's going to have something to do with like ghosts or something. Obviously, by the title, but like not like actual ghosts or anything, but or is it holograms or something maybe? And there's 3 new Digimon on the poster for it, known as Angoramon, Gamamon, and Jellymon. So I guess that's pretty interesting. Um, a lot of the newer Digimon series have been pretty shitty, so it's gonna be hard to see where that goes. From what I'm hearing, it's supposed to come out this fall, so maybe I'll check it out. I don't know if I'll react to it though. I'm not even going to be done with this series by the time that comes out, so we'll see. But Adventure O2 is getting something. They also announced that there will be a Digimon Adventure O2 movie, which confuses and kind of irritates me. They gave all of this focus to Digimon Adventure 01 getting a reboot, and a reboot that's mostly been really good and changed a lot about the Adventure 01 group and their dynamics and just how everything happened and all. It's the truest sense of a reboot for this series. And for O2, they're just giving it a single movie? Unless it's not going to be a single movie, unless it's going to be a series of movies. But from what this is saying, it's just supposed to be we're getting it a single movie. O2 is more complex than that. You could definitely give it more than a single movie. And they're saying it will be including all of the characters from O2 that we know. So it's like, it just feels like, how are you going to include everything from O2 in one movie? It's going to feel extremely rushed if you do that. Even if you just tried to include a single arc in there, like with the Digimon Emperor or whatnot, it's still going to feel extremely rushed. Because you have to have all these new characters, all the new chosen ones. You're going to have all of their Digimon partners and just everything going on. It's just, I don't think that's going to be altogether that possible to really pull off. If it were going to be a series of movies, then that would be possible, but I think it would be better just to do another series. We're gonna have to see how that goes to fully judge it, obviously, but I'm very concerned about that. Very concerned. But we'll see. We will see how it ends up going. But yeah, in the meantime, let's get on with this episode and see what we've got in store. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Thank God for this episode. Or should I say thank Angelmon for this episode. But in all seriousness, last episode just bummed me out so much. I really just did not like it. And this episode saved things drastically for me. It was so good. And it seems so silly. It seems so ridiculous. Like just this ridiculous, silly, goofy concept. but it worked. The writing was really tight on it. A lot of things just made sense, and you actually cared. You actually cared for Patamon, um, and everything that was going on. And let me get this right off the bat first. I briefly talked about this in the reaction and all, but comfort food is more than just a type of food. A lot of times food can be linked to very specific fond memories you have, whether with a family member, a friend, or just a really good time in your life that means a lot to you. Food can very well be linked to something that just releases an insane level of endorphins in your mind. I think that's the right the right chemical in your mind that produces happiness and all. I'm not good with that kind of stuff, but I think that's the right one. But it brings you joy just to see that food, to eat that food, to even smell that food. For Joe, it's French fries because when he was in kind of the midst of his heavy studies, the only time he really got for himself, the only time he really got to relax and just be himself really and enjoy himself and just not have to worry about anything was after school when he would stop at a fast food joint and just enjoy some fries. It's such a simple little thing, but it means so much to him. And that kind of thing is very real. There are a lot of stories around the world of people who have these kinds of connections to different foods. I've heard a story about this person who has this really deep connection to a very specific restaurant's cheeseburger. I don't. It was some kind of like local restaurant or something. I don't remember exactly what the deal with it was, but because they went there all the time with their mother before she passed, and so it's like that cheeseburger means a lot to them because of that connection. And there's stories like this all over. And it's like just seeing and eating that food can bring on those kind of feelings and bring on that kind of happiness and that kind of joy, that kind of passion, just because of how much it means to you, even if it's just generally good. Otherwise, like it's like, okay, yeah, this is good, but it's not like anything special, but it's because of its meaning. In a lot of cases, that's definitely a very big thing for a lot of people. And so seeing that with Joe here and seeing them explain that in this episode really well, actually, without actually having to like go into like this full monologue about the meaning behind this comfort food idea and all. They really did exceptionally well with that concept here. And so you kind of instantly connect with Joe and his love of potatoes. And then you see there's basically a Digimon equivalent of this love as well with Potemon. Potemon is a Digimon who loves potatoes. And in this oasis that our heroes have come across, it mostly centers around fries because it's what they have. They have Bergamon who makes all these tasty burgers, and then you have all these different fries. But when Bergamon tells Potemon that they're planning to take fries off the menu because no one else eats them, and everyone has agreed to this, Potemon gets really, really upset and runs away. Eventually, the anger takes over its heart, and it digivolves into Giagamon, while retaining that anger, causing it to lose control and become aggressive. And so our heroes have to fight Giagamon to protect this oasis and all the Digimon living within it, while at the same time realizing who Giagamon is. And Joe really gets a chance to shine here, working with Zudomon, as well as getting some help from Hikari and Angelomon, he wants to save Giagamon. Not stop Giagamon, not defeat Giagamon, but save Giagamon. And that's important. And so, with Angelomon's help, he and Zudomon just cleanse the mind of Giagamon, allowing them to become their normal potato-loving self again. Even though they didn't turn back into Potemon and remained as Giagamon, they've regained their senses. And luckily, thanks to all of Giagamon's potatoes, they also have potatoes back on the menu. Not just fries, but a lot of different potato dishes. So everyone is happy. Everyone is... It's just a total win. This episode was important because it gave a lot of good added depth to Joe, showing a different side of him and showing just how something seemingly so small and silly like this can have a deep meaning to someone, which is why we should never make fun of or invalidate someone for being so into things like this. We don't know why they are into it so much. It very much can have a very deep, important meaning to them. Even something like food. And it also showed how far Joe is willing to go to save those that he cares about. Like, Potemon became a very quick friend to him and a legitimate friend because of their shared interest in French fries. Again, it seems silly. It does. But even things like that, even small, silly things like that, can connect people. They became friends, and so he didn't want to see Giagamon going through this anger. He didn't want to see him in that kind of state. He wanted to save him. So the fact that he is helping bring the hammer down using his chosen one powers, even though he may not technically have been needed there, it was meaningful. It was important. And this episode honestly made me like Joe a lot more. And the episode in and of itself, even outside of that stuff, even outside of all of that, was really cute and fun. This Oasis was really cute. We got to see Lunamon. We got to see a bunch of other Digimon just hanging out, having fun, cleaning Commandomon. It was just really fun and nice and cute, and everything just worked. It was enjoyable. It was just nice. I don't know how else to put it. I had a really good time with this episode, and it made me feel very happy after how sour of a taste last episode left in my mouth. So I'm really, really happy we got this, because it's night and day on the quality. Last episode was so weak, and this one just so good. And it also proves that even silly little things like this can just be enjoyable and be good. Not everything has to have huge stakes. Not everything has to be like this hugely dramatically important thing. Sometimes something small and goofy like this can be just as entertaining, just as well written, just as good. So yeah. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Digimon Adventure 2020, and thank you all so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.